if people are commenting on that, on my own stuff, then there's clearly a need. We definitely need to level up and bring marginalized voices and see it.
Hello, this is Sojourner, social worker, travel blogger, and the host of Let's Unpack That, a travel education series. Now, you know we gotta unpack that, right? And today I'm bringing you another interview with another amazing traveler. Her name is Dr. Nabila, or Nabila for
Wait,
short, and
people are
she
going
is
there. It's
a
not
South
dangerous. It's
Asian
not all the
travel
things that my
blogger
parents or
who's also
community
a
have told me.
pharmacist. She's going to be talking about representation for South Asians in the travel community, her experiences, understanding her own culture and identity, and how all of that impacts her travel. So let's get into it. Can you introduce yourself, your name, age, and what you're passionate about?
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Nabila, or also known as Dose of Travel online. I'm 26, going on 27 years old. I am based in Los Angeles, but originally from New York. And I am super passionate about solo travel and South Asians in travel as a Pakistani American myself, and just really empowering people to live their best life and try to fit travel into their lifestyle, however way that works. I am a pharmacist who works full time, but still really love traveling.
So, what do you love about traveling, and how did you get started?
As a kid, I was always traveling back and forth between the US and Pakistan because that's where my parents are from. And maybe as a kid, that had a huge impact. But what really kicked it off was an exchange program I did at the age of 14. And I had a foreign exchange student from Paris come live with me for 2 weeks. And my parents, surprisingly enough, let me go to at the age of 14 to go live with them in Paris. College happened and I was like, I'm not being challenged enough and I want to go learn. And so I booked a one-way flight to Spain as an au pair. And honestly, that is how it started and it has not stopped since.
So in the US, we use this large umbrella term of Asian to describe a large geographic region as well as a culturally diverse region. So when you say South Asian, can you define what that means to you?
Absolutely. So first, I just want to lead with saying that I'm means an expert at this. I've actually only just started to rediscover my identity and culture in a way that fits me and appeals to me and that I can weave into my lifestyle. So when I think of South Asian, I think the very technical sense that it's the Indian subcontinent. So countries that fall into India, Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. I think Afghanistan is sometimes not included on that list, but generally in that area, and is not inclusive of a certain religion. So you don't have to be Muslim or Hindu, like you can be any of the religions, but generally from that part of the world, we are different in our religions, but have a lot of similarities in culture, but often also get mistaken as the same person because we're from that general area. So I'm Pakistani, but I'm always referred to as Indian just because India is so large and that's what a lot of people know.
And you kind of mentioned earlier that you do a lot of solo traveling. So how does being South Asian impact those types of travel experiences?
So honestly, I have not really seen a lot of South Asian women traveling. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I know that there are South Asian women out there who travel and South Asian men, like all South Asians, they do travel, but we're definitely far and few between. Like there's not a lot of us. And out of the 37 countries I've been to in the last 8 or 9 years, I have yet to come across one by themselves. Me sharing that and starting my Instagram, I've kind of learned exactly why that is. I just knew that I was an oddball kind of amongst my own community, but I had no idea why or couldn't put the words to it. I didn't even think I'd go away to school, far away. Moving out of the house is really something that happens more so when you get married. It's not something where you do alone. And so when I started solo traveling, it was kind of a big deal. And now, fast forwarding 9 years later, I'm kind of understanding why it was like that because other people are bringing it up. But for me, it was just a self journey. It's really uncommon because most people think that you have to either be married, and there are actually some verses in the Quran maybe that say if you're Muslim that you shouldn't be traveling alone. You need to get approval from either a man or your father or your husband. And so I think there's a lot of pushback on that sense where some people don't travel if they're from South Asian descent.
And you mentioned that you've learned a lot about yourself and your culture from traveling too. And what have you learned?
I've always had a fascination for culture and like language and food and like cuisine and all that when I travel, like in dance and all these little things. But I kind of forgot about my own along the way because I think of my upbringing where I was known to be very strict, and also probably growing up in a very white community where like I was ashamed of everything. I couldn't relate. I didn't see anyone else of my skin color and all these things. I spent a really long stint in Mexico for 2 months, and I loved learning the language, like salsa dancing, the cuisine, and I was so fascinated by that I was like, wait, there's so much beauty in mine. I'm seeing a lot of travelers go to Pakistan, and that's where my family's from. And I'm like, wait, people are going there. It's not dangerous. It's not all these things that my parents or community have told me. It's like an undiscovered place. It's opening up that a lot of people are like going to for all these cool things that I never knew about. And so seeing other travelers in homeland, I guess, if you will, is like inspired me to really want to tap into my own.
So we know travel is subjective, even if, you share the same identities as someone else. But in your opinion, what have been your favorite destinations to travel to as a South Asian traveler, and what has made them feel welcoming or special to you?
I love that question. I think my big trip to Africa, where I was traveling through like 5 or 6 countries by myself, I really just loved how I felt in Tanzania. The diversity in culture there, where there's like a lot of Christianity and there's like I think a third Muslim, and then there's also like the tribal community, and I didn't feel like an outsider there. It was so nice to see like Pakistani food. I recognized some of that food and I was like, wait, we can talk about this. Like I get it, but it was in a totally different like country and continent, but also mixed in with so many other cultures where everyone kind of coexisted together. And my name wasn't really like an oddball. Nothing about me stuck out any more than it does, whereas when I travel to some places, they're like, oh, wait, you can't be American. There was a sense of belonging that I really felt in Tanzania.
How would you like to see the travel industry be more inclusive to not only Asian travelers in general, but South Asian travelers at that?
That I didn't see myself in a niche, I guess, if you will. But after talking to a lot of people and posting my content and realizing who my followers were and the questions they had, there's clearly a need in the way that the travel industry markets certain places, their advertising, who they use, and how they approach these conversations. Now it's Ramadan, which is a Muslim holiday, and that affects Muslim travelers, that affects countries that you go to in the Middle East or South Asia, and the way it should be marketed and the understanding behind it. Like we should be having those conversations of like how to be responsible and respectful when you go to those countries, how to dress modestly. If people are commenting on that, on my own stuff, then there's clearly a need. We definitely need to level up and bring marginalized voices and see it.
This is a lightning round of questions where you try to keep your answers between like 1 and 5 words. Is a nice sweet spot. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
What is the destination with the best food?
Mexico.
What is one thing that travel has taught you about yourself?
How to be confident in my decisions.
One travel privilege that affects how you travel.
Definitely having a US passport.
Your favorite travel experience in 3 words, and 3 words only.
Safari in Tanzania.
One word to describe what travel means to you.
Belonging.
One destination you would love to visit.
Bali.
One book or podcast or resource that you're loving right now.
How I built this.
What is your travel superpower?
Making friends with anyone I meet.
And what do you want your impact to be on the world?
Still has to be 1 to 5 words. Opportunity.
That is it for this episode of Let's Unpack That. Thank you for coming on, Nabila. Can you let people know where they can connect with you?
Absolutely. You can find me at doseoftravel on pretty much any social media handle. On Instagram, TikTok. My blog is www.doseoftravel.co.
Well, thank you again for being on. I appreciate it. And I hope that the travel industry is listening to get more South Asian travelers all up in here.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me talk about it and bring up this conversation. It was a lot of fun.
I hope you all enjoyed our conversation. Leave any reflections or comments of your own below, and I will see you all at our next video. Bye. Stay curious.